Hi everyone, it's Roger and Jeremy here from the What's on Disney Plus podcast. In this episode, we're going to be doing a retro review of Marvel's Civil War. So this one is obviously we've got Falcon and the Winter Soldier going on right now. We've also got Black Widow coming up, and we first thought, well, we don't really need an excuse, so let's jump in and talk about possibly, I still think one of the best Marvel movies that could only exist because they put the time and effort into building it. But what a movie. But what did you think of this one?
Yeah, this movie, it's Avengers 2.5, really. It is just, it's so great. And they were at the point where you had to break the Avengers up just so they would have some adversity before getting back together to face Thanos. That's kind of, they had
Yeah.
nowhere else to go at this point because they had put so much effort in and they had taken on all of the big bads individually. And they'd already taken on Loki and Ultron. So there was not much else other than to fight each other. And it's interesting how they, it's a great way. It introduced Spider-Man, it introduced Black Panther, it brought back Ant-Man. um
Yeah.
it's the most Hawkeye has ever been relevant in the MCU until Endgame. So they, while yeah, the main focus is on Steve and Tony, it still works out to where these side characters get a much bigger focus. We just had WandaVision. This is the movie that makes me care more about both Wanda and Vision, even though they're
Yeah.
introduced in Age of.
Yeah, it's such a weird movie because it's like even just calling it by the name of they're going, yeah, it's like, well, it's technically Captain America Civil War, but the Captain America bit kind of gets lost in it because there's so many other characters in here. It does feel like an Avengers movie. Now I remember reading the Civil War comic books or some of them when it was going on, and I do feel like in some ways they kind of rushed that whole aspect of the registration and the conflict. I feel they probably could have dragged that out over a lot more movies and kind of spread that out. And ultimately, I think that does have an effect on Falcon and the Winter Soldier, but I do think they could have helped deal with more with that one. I also loved, I mean, that to introduce Black Panther and Spider-Man in one movie, that's quite a lot. But also to do it in a way, we still had the Black Panther movie set to come. They didn't do it the normal way of doing the movie and then leading into it,
Right.
but in some ways it didn't need to. They did it in such a way. But also with Spider-Man, they did the whole intro to Spider-Man, and they were able to do it in such a simple way because it's like, come on, guys, we've done 5 Spider-Man movies. We don't need to see him getting bit by a spider. We don't need to see that bit. I mean, they completely changed it with the whole thing of basically Tony giving him all the equipment, which takes a little bit away from me from Spider-Man because Peter Parker has always been super intelligent and on par with Tony Stark.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my one issue with it. But obviously, love Tom Holland as Spider-Man. This movie's, I mean, just watching it back again now, it's like I could easily just put it back on.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's such a movie that it's full of action. I mean, that airport scene is iconic. There is
Oh
no
yeah.
way about it.
No way to get around how iconic that is. Yeah. The Spider-Man thing does take a little bit away from it, but at least again, Tom Holland is actually the age Peter Parker is supposed to be.
Yes.
He doesn't look like a grown man trying to be a high schooler. Um, and then
Yeah.
and we introduced him. We don't need the backstory. Like I said, we don't need the Spider-Man. We don't need to see Uncle Ben die again.
No.
We've already seen him die twice. All right, it's fine. You know,
It's
uh,
funny because my wife is funny I mean, she's not a big, probably Spider-Man is like her least favorite character. She just doesn't like it. And it's like when I say about like this one here, she's like, "Yeah, but he's like a kid." I said, "He's supposed to be a kid. That's what he's supposed to be like." I said, "Like, but Andrew Garfield as a 45-year-old pretending to be a college student just didn't portray that kind of thing." And same thing with Tobey Maguire. So they were so much older and so that he is supposed to be a teenager at school, at high school, and that's how it's supposed to be. So I love how that aspect. It really, I think, has helped develop more of. Obviously, the Winter Soldier is much more in this, him kind of coming to terms with it, but him being revealed to be like, killed Tony Stark's parents. I mean, you can see then that the whole battle between, Captain America being pulled in which direction and stuff. And it's such a strange dynamic because we've never really had, until that time where we were starting to get superheroes having different kinds of problems than just stopping the world from being destroyed or an origin. You know, that's always and Civil War is different. It's got an entirely different thing going on.
Yeah, that makes me excited for Falcon and Winter Soldier, since Baron Zemo is coming back, and you know he introduced something that no one else could do. You know, all these people want to destroy these superhero teams, and they come out with force. He found a way. He got inside and split them apart that way. It was great. It was great psychology for this movie.
Yeah, and it's that kind of weird thing of like he turned them on each other. We're just kind of tweaking around a little bit, you know, and it was very smart. And yeah, again, we're just excited to see what happens with Falcon and the Winter Soldier, because as time of recording, it's just a few days away from it. I'm coming out, but it's such a great movie. And like I said, when I think like this compared to like Age of Ultron, it's like this was the Avengers movie we'd have been wanting for, but it only worked because Disney had put that time in. You know, Marvel had put the build up to it, so they didn't rush it. So it took its time to get there. And yeah, and then you just see that whole like triple threat fight thing at the end with them all fighting with Tony, and then you got Black Panther and it just works so well. But that airport scene is just, you could just watch it over and over again, especially with Spider-Man making reference to an AT-AT from off as an old movie. And I'm like, and it's like, how old is this guy? And I'm like, I completely that feeling. Yeah, because it's like, for me, it's just like, yeah, that's like I would be like that now, where I'd be like, what do you mean old movie? That's like a movie I grew up with as a kid.
Tony, where'd you get this kid?
I just love that whole aspect to it, and playing up on obviously being able to do that was but just the way his interaction with it, and he definitely stole that whole scene.
Stole that scene. I love you know, he's fighting with Cap, and he gets in, it's like, where are you from? It's like, Queens, Brooklyn, and I'm like, you're both from New York.
Yeah.
I get the different sections of New York, but you're both from New York.
Yeah. So that was kind of cool, and just like, you know, the whole thing of him like fighting with Bucky and Falcon, and you know, they're just like, you don't normally talk this much, you don't need to. Sorry. Yeah, I just just really enjoyed this movie. I still think it's probably one of the best Marvel movies, because it was so different, but also it sets things up, it moves things along, but it's, you know, seeing them fighting with each other. But even when they're fighting each other, you know, like you see like Black Widow and Hawkeye, they're fighting and they're trying to outdo each other, but they're not trying to kill each other. They're not trying, you know, and they're even, you know, one of the kind of points out the fact that they're pulling each other's punches, because they really don't, and they're still like, we're still going to be friends, right? You know, and I like that they did that. You know, just don't make it a straight up, you know, and Tony and everyone's like, look, we really don't want to. I mean, there were some pretty bad things happening in that movie, but then obviously we get Giant Man, who just, I love that scene. It's just so cool that I can just watch that over and over again. Anything else you want to say on Civil War?
The one scene that I love right after is when, you know, Vision accidentally shoots down Rhodey, and you can tell he's hurt, and nobody wanted him to get hurt on either side. So, and Tony's got him there, you know, wrapped up, and then Sam lands there, and he's just like, I'm sorry, and Tony just shoots him, and it's just like, it's a moment of levity in there, but it's the perfect response, because your best friend is hurt, somebody from the other side, despite the fact he's been your friend and has been friends with this and
guy. Even was trying to save him,
and was trying to save him. Despite all that, you're so filled with grief that you don't care.
No, I mean, we're gonna have Armor Wars. That's gonna be another series sort of out from this one, and we already know that Warhammer is gonna be in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So obviously, when this all comes out, you'll have seen it a little bit earlier than us. But yeah, this was just the perfect run in. You know, it's like they're doing all these, like, you know, the Marvel Legends little shorts and stuff, and they're just going, nope, I'm just watching them. I'm just picking out, you know, Winter Soldier, you know, we did, and then Civil War and a few other ones. No, just let's watch watch it through properly. But so again, if I was to give it a score out of 5, I'm going to easily give it a 5. I've got no complaints about this movie at all. I think it's fantastic. What about you?
Yeah, I'd give it a 5. The biggest complaint I can give it is it's not Winter Soldier, which is my favorite MCU movie. That's all I can say.
Yeah, it is just really cool. So let us know in the comments below what you think of Captain America Civil War. Love to hear your thoughts. Remember as well, if you are a Patreon or a YouTube channel member, you get access to these episodes a little bit earlier than everyone else as a perk of being a member. You also get to contribute with the weekly Q&A, and you also get early access. You also get shout outs on the podcast, etc. So on that note, guys, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you guys soon. Laters.
Later.